let's talk more about Apple's record run. Bringing a man who used to run the company. Joining us now is former Apple CEO John Sculley. John, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Melissa.
You're a bull, to put it delicately. I mean, you're an extreme bull here in Apple. But in terms of sort of these risks that we've been talking about at the top of the show, John, do any of these concern you?
Well, I think it's been a great discussion, a lot of really smart insight from your panel. What I would add to it, first of all, services is really the biggest part of the story, I think, for Apple through this decade. I've seen estimates as high as services reaching $50 billion of profits by 2025. But I look at it in terms of what are the things that Apple can control. And one of them is the terrific technology that they now have with their vertical integration into the iPhone. The iPhone is not going away in the decade of the 2020s. In fact, if you look at the microprocessor technology that Apple has invested in, some people have estimated that by 2030, the iPhone, and I think it'll still be around as a main part of Apple's business in 2030, that it may be 1 billion times more powerful than the original iPhone that Steve Jobs introduced. So think about what that means for services, the types of things you'll be able to do. Think about when 5G is fully deployed around the world. So Apple's got a great runway ahead of them. It's the most competent company maybe in the world in terms of its ability to run operations, execute, and it's been, many people have said, well, why isn't it more innovative? Well, it actually is very innovative in the things that are important in building its ecosystem. I mean, for example, the app library that Apple announced this year, that only makes it more easy for people to be able to add more apps and to be able to upgrade apps and things of that sort. And that's the engine of profitability for Apple is in the services, particularly the App Store. So I'm very bullish on Apple. I think they'll hit $2 trillion market cap probably before the end of this year. And I would guess by 2025, we'll be talking about, will Apple hit $2.5 trillion? This is clearly a company that is in for a long, long run.
No, Mr. Sculley, it's an honor to have you. You're a legend. So you just mentioned market cap. To Dan's earlier point, here's a company that's added $1 trillion. And I say that it's remarkable, but since the March low, $300 billion or so in the last 7 or 8 trading days. My question to you is the market underestimating the potential for Apple to be caught up in these continuing, ongoing, and escalating U.S.-China rhetoric, the back and forth in terms of what's going on between these two countries? Can the Chinese escalate, and could Apple find themselves in the crosshairs?
Well, of course they could escalate. I mean, remember, we're in an election year. We have 3 months to go until the election. So I think you have to discount a lot of the things that are being said until we get past the election. And Apple's not going away before the election. So I look at Apple not in terms of how does it look today. I'm holding Apple. I'm not selling Apple. If anything, we've been buying Apple over the years, not selling. But I believe that we'll have a much clearer picture, regardless of who wins or loses the election, as to what the risks are with China. It would be really a stupid thing for either China or the United States to start to try to have a war with their major companies like Tencent and Alibaba and Apple and others. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think cooler minds will come to their senses. But let's get past the election.
All right. John, we hope to speak to you soon. John Sculley, always great to hear your thoughts, former president of Apple. Is there a risk, and you think about this, and right now we're saying, oh, it's just Fortnite. It could be Riot. Spotify came out already with a statement in support of Epic Games. Tim, is there a risk that major apps band together and say, you know what, enough of this? And it is like that ad that parodied that 1980s Mac commercial that Apple put together, where you got all these different, I mean, if we play that again, all these different players in this, eventually throwing the anvil, the hammer, at the screen.
Yeah, and I think there's an argument, though, and I think this is where Dan was also referencing, where are they going to play these games? And ultimately, that's one of the big issues. So the dominance of the handset, of the installed base, the dominance of the iOS system is something that needs to be addressed. But again, I do agree. And I think when you talk about Riot Games and Activision Blizzard, I mean, these are all things that Tencent has a major stake in addition to Fortnite. So they are certainly, in terms of the gaming community, they could be one of the strongest players. Very interesting also what Mr. Scully referenced is this whole dynamic of are mega cap tech companies like Apple better off or worse off, or are they indifferent as to who the next president of the United States is? I think we have to be really careful to expect a change in administration changing the tone. Maybe the style will be different, but this is a very bipartisan issue in Washington. And in fact, I would argue that there are Democrats that have made this a bigger agenda item for them than even Republicans. So if investors are looking at mega cap tech as an investment where on the days you get the sense that maybe Biden's ahead in the polls, so it's safe to buy mega cap tech again because the China war will thaw, I think you have to be careful about that theory.